Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to completely forget everything you know about just getting a slightly faster computer. Because today we're diving into what is arguably the single most transformative technology race of our lifetimes. We're talking about the quantum arms race. It's high stakes, it's world-changing, and it's literally going to redefine everything from chemistry and material science to global security. The rules of the game, they're being rewritten as we speak. And honestly, the finish line is way closer than you probably think. To really wrap your head around the sheer magnitude of what's happening right now, just look at what Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said recently. He described their latest breakthrough as quantum computing's transistor moment. I mean, think about the scale of that for a second. The transistor birthed the entire digital age, the whole shebang. Nadella is basically saying that quantum tech is rapidly moving out of that, decades away sci-fi dream phase, and it's stepping right onto the factory floor.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the quantum turning point, then look at the hardware arms race, the billions in new funding, the trillion-dollar prize, and finally, we've got to talk about the massive cybersecurity threat.
All right, part one, the quantum turning point.
So, look, today's experimental quantum computers are super powerful, no doubt about it, but they have this kind of fatal flaw. They're incredibly fragile. They process information using these subatomic particles called qubits, but the tiniest little disturbance, maybe a slight change in temperature or just a stray wave of energy, and boom, they lose their calculations. Scientists call this noise, and fixing this noise is absolutely the holy grail of the entire industry. To fix it, Microsoft came up with something called topological qubits. It's kind of like a motorway where cars, or in this case electrons, glide perfectly without any bumps, no potholes, no traffic lights. This crazy novel state of matter basically acts like an invisible shield against noise. It creates these self-correcting qubits where the quantum information can travel flawlessly without getting messed up by the outside world.
Moving on to part two, the hardware arms race.
Now, what's really interesting here is this massive global competition we're seeing. Because not all these tech giants are building these supercomputers the exact same way. Actually, scratch that. They are taking wildly different paths. Microsoft, they're betting the farm on those topological qubits we just talked about, which promise super high stability. IBM, on the other hand, is pushing superconducting technology, and they're aggressively aiming for 1,000 qubits by 2025. And then you've got PsiQuantum taking a totally different approach, a photonic one. They're using particles of light and leveraging standard semiconductor manufacturing. So we're basically watching a live, multi-billion-dollar bet on which underlying physics is going to scale up first.
And physically, the differences between these approaches are just staggering. Current superconducting setups need these massive, highly specialized cryogenic facilities to keep everything right near absolute zero. You're essentially building giant sci-fi refrigerators. But contrast that with Microsoft's Measure on a chip. It's this incredibly compact design that literally fits right in the palm of your hand. It's a fundamentally different vision for how these insanely powerful machines are actually going to integrate into our existing data centers down the line. Which brings us to part three, billions in new funding. Naturally, when you have a technology this revolutionary, the money is going to follow. And wow, is it following? We are seeing a massive influx of capital, taking this from, a theoretical science project straight to serious industrial scale-up. Just look at the venture capital pouring in. PsiQuantum is leading the pack with a staggering $1.7 billion. Quantum Computing Inc. is right on their heels at $1.6 billion, and Quantinuum is sitting pretty at $1.2 billion. The private markets absolutely know these foundational technologies are maturing, and they are writing massive checks to help these companies cross the finish line. But hey, it's not just private venture capital. The U.S. Department of Commerce recently announced a truly historic strategic investment of just over $2 billion. $2 billion! And this isn't just your standard run-of-the-mill research grant. It's practically direct investment. The government is taking minority equity stakes across 9 key quantum companies to really lock down domestic leadership in this space. But here's what I find truly fascinating about this. The government isn't just throwing cash at flashy, headline-grabbing qubit counts. No, they are strategically targeting the totally unglamorous industrial supply chain bottlenecks. They're funding things like the production of wafers, cryogenics, advanced packaging, and control electronics. The whole goal here is to harden the supply chain. So when these quantum computers are finally ready to scale, the factories are actually there and ready to build them. And guess what? The industry is responding really aggressively. IBM matched that government initiative with their own $1 billion investment to build America's very first purpose-built quantum foundry. This is huge. It shows a massive, tangible shift from scientific optionality to true, real-world industrial scale-up. They're literally building the specialized factories of the future right now. All right, part 4, the $1 trillion prize. So you're probably wondering, what is all this money and effort actually for? Like, what does the ultimate winner of this race actually get? Well, the crucial point lies in this seemingly small number, 2%. Right now, there's this century-old Haber-Bosch process. It creates the ammonia for the fertilizer that literally feeds the world's population. But it produces a staggering 2% of all global CO2 emissions. We absolutely need the fertilizer to survive, for sure, but the process making it is a massive environmental crisis. Currently, making that fertilizer takes a massive 400-degree industrial pressure cooker just to force nitrogen and hydrogen together. It burns an unbelievable amount of energy. But in a quantum future, the rules change entirely. With quantum power, we could accurately simulate complex biological catalysts right down at the molecular level. I mean, nature already makes ammonia at basically room temperature, 30 degrees, using simple microbes. Normal supercomputers can't even come close to simulating that enzyme, but a quantum computer, it actually could. This could potentially allow us to create zero-carbon fertilizer and drastically cut global emissions. It's mind-blowing when you think about it. And honestly, that's just one single example. The tangible, world-changing applications here are virtually endless. We're talking about simulating microplastic-eating catalysts to clean up our oceans. We're looking at infinite lithium-ion battery optimization that could completely revolutionize electric vehicles, engineering self-repairing materials for bridges and buildings, or supercharging pharmaceutical drug discovery by simulating molecular interactions in a matter of minutes instead of years. This right here, this is exactly why they call it the $1 trillion prize. But that brings us to our final section, part 5, the cybersecurity threat. Because as with any massive leap in human capability, this immense computational power comes with an equally massive global risk. It's the huge elephant in the room. The exact same computational power that's capable of solving the climate crisis and curing diseases, yeah, it could seamlessly shatter the encryption protecting our entire digital lives. Everything from your personal bank accounts to top-secret national security files, all of it is fundamentally at risk. And this brilliantly illustrates the core of the problem. Today's security relies heavily on classical computers. For a regular computer, breaking modern encryption math problems would take literally thousands of years. But for a fault-tolerant quantum computer, those exact same problems could be solved in mere minutes. There's just no comparison. Governments, financial systems, and everyday businesses have got to rapidly overhaul their infrastructure to be post-quantum safe, and they have to do it long before these machines actually go live. And if we trace out the upcoming timeline, you'll see why people are nervous. This endgame is accelerating way faster than most businesses and governments are prepared for. IBM is tracking to hit 1,000 qubits by 2025. Microsoft is targeting true fault tolerance somewhere between 2027 and 2029. And by 2035 to 2040, the global quantum tech market is projected to reach $106 billion. The window we have to prepare our digital defenses, it's closing, and it's closing fast. Which leaves us with this crucial final question. Is our digital and physical infrastructure truly prepared for the impending quantum leap? The science is already moving from the research labs straight to the factory floor. The billions are flowing into the supply chain, and honestly, the stakes couldn't possibly be higher. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep this question in the back of your mind. Because the quantum future, well, it isn't decades away anymore. It's arriving right now.